I'm just going to jump out here and change this, the resolution, to be square. We'll do 1280 by 1280. For now, I don't think we'll render it in this, but just because it's kind of a long, you know, the simulation will be coming down in a straight line like that. I just wanted something square. Okay, so first I'm going to take the result of this, drop a delete, and just bring it down a bit. So if you think about, you know, with something entering the water, most of the bubbles, or maybe all of them really, will be coming out of the top, you know, the edge that's facing up. So we're going to delete the primitives by normal. We'll have to unpack this first. Okay, so that we have access to those primitives. You can see it changing there to the polygons. So in here, in the delete node, we've got this handy delete by normal. We can enable it, change it to normals facing up. And then, oh, I've got that the wrong way around. -1. There we go. And then just set that to like 90 or something. There we go. So now we'll be emitting in the next step here particles from the top. Okay, so now we'll drop a pop network. By the way, you can cache this out if you want to, but it's a, you know, as you can see, super quick simulation. Really nothing we're doing today is really heavy in terms of simulation, so I may not cache anything. Something weird going on my viewports there. Let me try, this may happen to you. Yeah, you see these big squares? Sometimes it happens because of these sprites, so just turn that off. There we go. Okay, so just plugging that in, you can see we get a result, we get something. So we're going to jump inside here and delete that, and I'm going to drop a gravity, but change it to positive. So just delete that, and then we'll have particles going up like bubbles do. Obviously they're going pretty fast now. Let's drop this down a bit. We'll be adding some like drag and stuff as well. Let me try adding a drag. Oh, I need pop drag. And there we go. I'm slow them down somewhat. Let's try pushing it up. Getting there a bit more. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll go back into my camera to get a sense of the speed of that. Obviously, they're all going at the same speed there. So to vary that, we need to use a little bit of expert, nothing too complex. Okay, so we can write some vex in here to vary this parameter value per particle, and to do that, we will be working using the ID attribute. That's why this ID attribute is really useful, because it doesn't change. The particle numbers will change because the you know, they'll die, or we'll probably delete them later on, so it's really handy to have that. So we need to create a random value, so I'm going to say float rand is rand is the function which will create a random number between 0 and 1. You can see that in the information, and we need a seed for that, which will be the ID. Okay, and then we say we need a semicolon to finish. That should be fine. And at the moment it's not doing anything. And then we're going to set this air resistance, or not set, we'll multiply it. Air resist. So we can see, if you just hover over, you can see that parameter name, air resist, like that, without a gap or any capital letter. And then I say times equals, which means multiply this by whatever I'm going to put here and set it to that. You know, if you just multiply air resist by rand, you're not changing air resist, you're just creating a new value that doesn't go anywhere. So that's just kind of a shorthand for that. So if we do that, we should have some variation. So now basically we've got random values between 0 and 1 and then being multiplied by this. So some particles will have an air resistance of 20 and some will have 0 or close to 0 if they, they're being multiplied by 0, or they'll have a resistance of 0 if they've got if they're being multiplied by 0.5, they'll be 10. Okay, I think we can see that in the geometry spreadsheet. Geometry here, air resist, there we go. So yeah, we can see we got values 20 down to close to 0 there. But I don't want 0, so what we can do is fit this. So if we use fit 01, which expects a value of 0 to 1, and then we can change those values, we can rearrange those values. So from 0 to 1 to 0.5 to 1. Okay, so now we'll have air resistance values between 10 and 20. We should anyway. Let's try that again. You can see it's a bit more natural looking now, and then here we can see between 10 and 20. So that's great. Drop that down there. We need to delete. We don't need the particles when they're shooting up past there. So I'm going to do a pop kill, which is just like delete really. And let's enable this, and we're going to do this by position. So the position is at P, but not just at P, because at P is a vector. We'll have 3 values. We want the Y components at P dot Y. And if it's more than 1, I think we started the skull at. There you can see half of the skull is not, it's been deleted there. See that? So there, they're just being deleted. So, if they'll be outside of the camera or the surface of the water, I suppose, then we won't see them. Let me just check. There we go. I was just double checking. Is that a ground plane? Let me just see. In here, make sure we don't have a ground plane. Ground, none. Okay, that's fine. Okay, back into our camera. Let's add some forces to this. So obviously we want to be moving these around. So pop force. Now before we do that, let's control how many, because we've got a lot of points here. What I want to get from this is a few big bubbles that kind of scatter, that have big movements, and we're going to base our pyro simulation off that and the skull itself as well. So the birth rate we want to be changing. Okay, so I'm going to start at, I'm going to drop this way down. That's more like it. Okay, and maybe the longer the skull is in the water, the less bubbles is going to be creating, right? So we need to animate this. I'm going to start at 50, and then when it's kind of near, fairly far into the water, down to 10, something like that. There we go. Yeah, so we get it kind of gradually slowing down, and make sure, we're not inheriting any velocity. Well, we shouldn't have any anyway. That shouldn't make any difference. Great, and now let's add those pop forces in. So we'll do a few layers of these. Pop force, grab that. Okay, so this will be like, the movement in the water. So give ourselves some amplitude. Let's maybe give ourselves a guide as well. And then we'll do kind of a few different sizes. That's kind of annoying. Can't see with that. Get rid of that. There we go. So you can see we've got some big noise there. Let's add another one and drop down the scale. Okay, back to the start. Let's do the next one, maybe a smaller swirl size. And we can change the pulse length as well, which will be, a slower kind of movement. Oh, that's kind of nice. If I drop this down, I think it'll be kind of crazy. No, not too bad. I'll put it 1.5, I kind of like that. And then we'll do one more, really small. 1, so the kind of jittery little movements. And I want these to be quick movements as well. Maybe I need a bit more amplitude there so we can see it. There we go, yeah, so there's little wriggly movements. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So, you know, these will be our big bubbles, and we'll base all the load of small bubbles from this.